our next and last panel for today is building movements. So it's about building movements rather than just creating another startup business. Our moderator is Leigh Wasson. Leigh, would you please come up on stage? As well as Armani Cooper from TeamBackPack, Dom Sagolla, co-creator of Twitter, who's running a little bit late, but as soon as he gets here, we are going to run him up on stage for you. Priyanka Jain from iCAREweCARE. And let's give him a hand, guys.
Thank you so much, Sana. Again, I'm Leigh Wasson, and it's my absolute pleasure to be moderating this panel. So, wow, all these amazing young entrepreneurs. You all have heard from young CEOs. You've heard how to start a successful startup. And we're going to bring it home with this last session, and we're going to talk about a really important item, which is how to create a movement, not just a company. And to do that, we have some amazing entrepreneurs. I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves, and we have a third one coming who's running just a little bit late. So Priyanka, if you could tell us who you are and what your company does.
Yeah, so my name's Priyanka Jain. I am a freshman at Stanford. I'm 19. And when I was a sophomore in high school, I started iCAREweCARE. It's a student-run nonprofit that leverages social media for social good. And our real mission was to bring high school and college students together from all around the world to connect about issues that they actually care about. So what we do is we provide students with service opportunities in their local community based on what they're passionate about and also what their friends are doing, so it can become a social, exciting movement. I'm also really passionate about girls' education, and I work with the United Nations Foundation as a youth champion for Girl Up.
Amazing. Okay, Armani.
Hi, my name is Armani Cooper. I'm the president of TeamBackPack.net. Me and my team developed a platform for hip-hop artists worldwide and basically gave them a voice and just a central site for them to share their music and share their ideas and be creative. We work with Ustream TV, Hip Hop DX. We've worked with MTV, and we're just constantly growing and constantly expanding.
Incredible. I want to start by asking both of you, which came first, the idea of your company or the idea of a movement? And by that I mean, did you know when you had the company vision in your minds that the company would also be a movement? Priyanka, can you go first?
Yeah, I would say that ours was definitely always a movement. The organization was more of the means to the end, but our goal was really, as I said, to bring students together and to get them to see that there are so many other brilliant, passionate, intellectual students from all over the world who are interested in the same causes. And all we ever wanted to do was connect them and connect them to opportunities. And the way that we did that ended up being our organization, but our real vision was a movement the whole time.
Fantastic. What about you, Armani?
Yeah, I think, just like she said, most movements, it starts with passion. And for me, it was my passion and love for hip hop music. I started it off as freshman in college. I wanted to create a club where I can kind of get with other people who shared my interest, And as you grow, you're going to find more and more people who share your interest, and eventually everybody relates to what you think, and now that's how you have a movement, a group of people who all share the common interest.
I have a question that is really in sync with the youth theme here. Do you think that because you're youthful, it's a movement because you know how to leverage social media, and social media helps create movements? I know both of you have used media quite extensively. So Priyanka, how important has social media been?
Yeah, social media, it's been key for us. So as I said, we had this mission, we had this goal, and we wanted to figure out what's the best way that we can find students from all corners of the world and connect them to each other. And obviously, there are so many awesome social media companies that are doing exactly that. And so instead of creating our own network, we decided we would piggyback on what already exists. So it's been really great to work using the Facebook API and using Twitter and just seeing how fast things spread through social media and how connected we already are.
Yeah, social media, it connects everybody. Without Facebook, we wouldn't have been able to connect with people from India, connect with people from the UK, even Africa, And it's beautiful, but at the same time, I think movements start in the streets, out in reality. You know, people come to our events and they want to meet face to face. They'll come to rallies. They'll come to, you know, that's when you know you have a movement, when you see the strength in numbers. And then those people take that experience and they bring it home to them, and then they go back on social media and share it with their friends.
Okay, so based on that, let's get practical, because I know there are a lot of aspiring CEOs and founders listening. Given that you both have created and had the vision to have a movement, what does that mean from a tactical perspective? What do you need to do in marketing and positioning and messaging what you're doing? Give us some advice there.
For us, it was really interesting because a lot of organizations are like almost competing for volunteers or competing for resources, and we decided that since we were going to be a movement and not focus as much on the what is an organization, we really worked on collaboration. That was really key for us. We thought about how we could work with all these different organizations, work alongside nonprofits, work alongside different student groups, and just really bring people together. So for us, it was really about collaboration, not competition.
I think for us, like for our brand and just for the movement in general, TeamBackPack, when we created it, it was very important for us to realize that it's not an I thing, it's very much a we thing. So when we were addressing our fans, we called them family, and we say, hey, TeamBackPack, you know, and I think that's important for every brand. Twitter does the same thing. They say, hey, Twitter, and they say, hey, YouTube, and it kind of develops a sense of transparency. People feel like they're a part of it, and they're a part of what you're doing. So it's like once you create your brand, and if you want to make it a movement, realize it's not yours anymore. It's the consumers. You know, it's whoever is using your product. It's, you know, their Ustream now, almost.
That's wonderful.
You have to clap.
I have another question about creation. This about both of you now as entrepreneurs. What was your motivation, and what inspired you to dream big and bold and take the risk?
I think that like every entrepreneur can relate to this, but it's just like a frustration that there's this problem and it seems so ridiculous that that problem exists. And for us, I was sitting with like a group of my friends from high school, and we were sitting there saying, okay, we have a required 20 hours of community service that we have to do every year to graduate. And we would see so many of our friends just go to the most random places just to get their form signed. It was like a job, it was a requirement. And we're thinking, if there's all these students who are doing community service anyway, and if they could enjoy it, think about how much more that they would contribute to their experience. And all of these students that we talked to really did have something that they were interested in or that they were passionate about. They just didn't know, okay, so I care about the education. How do I do anything about that? And so hearing that question over and over again really inspired us to say there's got to be a way to connect these organizations that want to hear the voices of young people and want to hear what we have to say, to connect them to those students who really do care and want to make a difference but don't know how.
Nice.
Yeah, exactly. I have to agree with everything she said. It starts with seeing a problem and seeing the way things are going and wanting to fix it. A part of the passion that we have is because we look at music, and particularly hip hop music, and we see how commercial it has gotten, and how it affects our youth. And we just had an issue with that. We wanted music to start coming from the heart again, because, you know, when we grew up around truthful music. You know, the people we looked up to were just like Talib Kweli, Mos Def, and they were always speaking to what we believed in. And now we just see it so much differently. So what we wanted to do is we just wanted to find people who still had that thought in mind, and we wanted to kind of bring them to the light. And like she said, like, yeah. And once people see that, and if they believe in it too, then it's like, then, you know, the movement just expands, and they're going to share it with their friends with just as much passion as you would share it with them.
I really love the fact that there's this common theme around positive impact in what both of you are doing. How important is that to you? Is that a part of your passion?
Positive impact, I mean, that's our goal. At the end of the day, once we connect students to organizations and to each other, our whole goal is that they'll go back and do something good. So I think for us, since we are a nonprofit, our whole goal is around positive impact, not just locally, but globally.
Great. And Armani, what about you with music and hip hop and the positive messaging? Tell us about that.
Well, like our platform, like there's so much positive energy at our events just because we're accepting of everybody's background and of everybody's culture. We don't censor anybody. It's like, hey, whatever you are, go ahead. Here's your soapbox, and you get 16 bars to tell us how you feel, or how, whatever you want. And with that positive energy, that positive environment, you're just going to get the best out of everybody. Everybody's going to give you their best product. And if you just watch the videos, like, you kind of see that there's never any negativity, just because everybody's just so happy to be there and everybody just wants to do their best. So you're hearing people talk about social activism. You're hearing people talk about struggle, parental problems, relationship problems, and people just relate to it. So like it just becomes positive, and it starts conversation, and positivity attracts more positivity. That's how we're expanding.
Well, that's great. That's great advice for all the entrepreneurs thinking about what they're going to create. So let's talk about another tactic. The importance of scale. We've heard that over the last 2 days, how important it is to scale as a startup and to ramp up. How have you done that in both of your companies, your nonprofit, your organization, your movement?
For us, it was a little bit of what Dom talked about. It was the online and the offline. It was realizing that word would spread through online, but it was getting people together offline and to really hear you and hear your passion and see your message, and that's when people really took action. So they would hear about our events and all the things that we were doing through social media, and then that would spread like wildfire and bring people together at the physical offline events, and that was really powerful for us. And people would go home and tell their friends about it, and it really grew through both online and offline.
Yeah, the goal I think for both of us is expansion, and not to be like locally optimistic, but be worldwide optimistic. So we wanted to make sure that we had reps in different areas. We got people in New York repping TeamBackPack. We have people in India. We just finished shooting a series in India, so we're going to get a bunch of artists from over there. Right. We're going to Canada, and we're going to London. And what's cool is that we're shooting these videos in different places, but they're all going to be on one central location. So people who are coming to watch a cypher in Philadelphia are going to see that cypher in London as well, Mm-hmm. And not only that, but also holding events where we invite people from different parts of the world together, to kind of be under one roof. So expansion is very important, and it shouldn't be necessarily about money right away. It needs to really just be about whatever your passion is. Let's try to find everybody who kind of shares that similar passion and try to get them all into one circle, and then, congregate, then monetize. Money is second. You're going to find that later,
Tell us about the most important decisions that were successful decisions, and then we all know that failure and success come together as an entrepreneur. So what did you do well, and what do you wish you had done better that you can share and prevent someone from making that mistake?
Things we did, I think one of our best decisions was being a team. And I think that there are a lot of really great entrepreneurs, and it is really important to have a leader, but I do think it's just equally important to have a really great team, because as one person, you aren't going to know what other people are going to resonate with. For us, we would have these meetings where we would sit down and brainstorm and say, well, what if I had this idea, or how would I connect with this organization? And just hearing all these different ideas, you would realize, oh, that one would actually resonate with a much larger audience than what we had originally come up with. So it was really, really great to work in a team of equally passionate, equally brilliant, and just have like a flat table. No one was better than anyone else. There was no hierarchy. We would just have really great discussions, and that was crucial for us building our organization and expanding a lot. Mistakes, we made so many. It was just unbelievable, but we were also a group of 15-year-old kids, and that's what we expected. But we thought we could somehow build a website, and none of us knew anything about web design or computer science. And we ended up just organically going out and talking to people and saying, we're really passionate about this. We want to do this. And you'll be surprised how many people want to help you. If you can communicate your vision and your message, so many people will jump on board. We had web designers come on and say, we want to build this for you. And people who helped us do marketing, and really awesome leaders in the nonprofit world who signed up to help us build this. And I think that if you can take the weaknesses that you have and work with other people and let it be their strengths, you can build really great teams.
Right. I agree with everything you said, and I think for my company, in the beginning, when we first started off, one of our main issues was that we didn't really want to branch out and work with other people, because we felt like we felt like this is our brand and we don't want to muddy it up with somebody else's brand, you know. And as we got you know, older and more mature and more shows started coming up, we see that, you know, people can help out and there's so many tools out there and there's so many resources. I mean, now we're like, possibilities are endless. Like we're working with Ustream TV, who's helping us promote our shows, and like Hip Hop DX. And I think what we do best is that we have a strong sense of transparency. And I think like every successful company needs a sense of transparency. They need to feel, your consumer needs to feel like they know what's going on. Maybe they don't know everything that's going on, but you have to give them something. Like they have to know what's going on and they need to feel like they're making a choice. Like when we first started our t-shirt designs, like we had like 3 or 4 designs and we posted it on Facebook and we let them choose which t-shirt they wanted. Because we don't want to put a t-shirt out that nobody wants. You have to put it out and whichever one you guys want, we'll sell that to you, you know. And weekly updates, just let them know what's getting ready to happen in the future.
That's fantastic. Let's talk about the theme of having the right advisors around you. And I've always said that you need the right advisors before you need them, so they are there when you do need them. Yeah. So as entrepreneurs, you need to think in advance and select who are you going to need around you before you need them. Oh, man. So how have you done that?
That is so true. I can speak on that like the team that I have around me, everybody is different. Everybody plays a different role. Like, okay, there's me, I'm positive about everything. I'm optimistic. I'm like, yeah, we're gonna go out there, we're gonna do it. Thousands of people are gonna show up. And then we have our other friends, like my friend Kyle, he's awesome. Without Kyle, like, we wouldn't have such a well-ran organization. He plays the devil's advocate. He's like, you know, this might happen, Armani, and they might not show up, and then we have a terrible show. And I'm like, Kyle, don't say that, man, we can do it. But you know, if he doesn't say that, then I'm not thinking of a way to make sure that doesn't happen. If he doesn't tell me, hey, there might be a lighting problem, then I'd have no idea on how to make sure there's no lighting problem, you know? So you need everybody. Then you have to have a great team, because if you don't have the team around you, it's not about you. I always say it's the we plan. It's always we, it's never I. So you have to address your consumer as we, and you have to address your team as we. Like, we have an audio engineer who makes sure everything sounds amazing, but he's also the same guy who helps us get most of the artists on our ciphers. We have a guy who does our web development, but he's also the same guy who helps us get all our sponsors, you know? So although everybody has specific like tasks, we're all in the team together, and we all need to be ready to help. Oh, snap, Dom's here.
All right, Dom's in the house.
I'm sorry.
Hey, welcome. Join us.
What's up, man?
Nice to meet you.
Totally my fault.
Dom, we are going to come to you in one moment. We've got Priyanka who's going to speak to the importance of having the right advisors around her in what she was building.
Yeah, definitely. So I 100% agree with everything he just said. I think that our society has a large focus on fixing your weaknesses. And I think that's really interesting because in a team, if you play to your strengths and surround yourself with people who have different strengths, you don't have to worry about your weaknesses. Other people who you can work with it will be their strength. And so I think that was really important for us, realizing that we don't want a team of all just really excited, really optimistic, really like excited people, because that's not gonna build a realistic company or a realistic organization. So for us, it was really important to bring together a diverse group of people. And as for mentors, for us, it was just huge. I mean, we couldn't have done anything without, I would say my parents were really, really incredibly helpful and supportive in telling me that you could go do this. And we met with amazing leaders of nonprofits just by going up to them and saying, hey, this is what we want to do. And like I said, you'll be surprised how many people will want to help you. And so just getting a lot of different perspectives before we went out and built anything was really crucial for us.
So we now have Dom Sagolla, who is a co-creator of Twitter and head of quality at Twitter. And you know, Twitter, it's hard to believe, it was 2006 when it started. Now, you know, it was an instant phenomenon with no turning back. 100 million users worldwide, valued most recently at $10 billion. Dom, I think you definitely can speak on how to create a movement. Tell us about that.
So yeah, Twitter was a team effort, and every one of the original 14 people at Odeo, the company that preceded Twitter, gave it its character. And then the people who joined and became the first users made that impact of the first community. We took, interestingly enough, the idea contest that led to Twitter called a hackathon is itself a kind of a movement now. And so I took that idea of a meritocracy and brought it to other communities. We did it with iOS. My friends and I are doing it now with Glass. And so what was interesting about Twitter is, yes, it is a movement, a social media movement in a way, participating along with the bigger players like Facebook. And
Right.
At the time, actually, one of the bigger competitors was Google. They just bought Dodgeball, and we were trying to keep it to ourselves, and we didn't want them to know about it. And so really, part of it is keeping it close early on, having an early team that's very special to you, that you can trust, like you said, your team, that offsets some of your tardiness, for
And
example.
so
Flaws.
what we're hearing is that maybe movements beget movements, because the iOS hackathon is a movement also.
Right, so that has taken on a life of its own as well. It was called iPhone Developer Camp 1 week after iPhone launched at Adobe in San Francisco. And they were our home for 2 years as we built it on top of open source, another movement. And we all were trying to give back to the community that had given us so much. I mean, Twitter and Odeo before that were built on top of Rails, Ruby on Rails. Raise your hand if you've heard of Ruby. You guys know this one. It's a very easy to program in programming language. There was a web extension called Rails, and the team contributed to open source as we released the first version of Odeo and Twitter. And so we wanted to give back to the community. And that was the part of the incentive behind iPhone Developer Camp, which then took form as iPad Developer Camp when that came out. And then we pivoted and we call it iOS Developer Camp now. And it's in almost every major city in America. We're doing another one this summer. I'm happy to announce July 12th to 14th. It'll be at the Computer History Museum. And everyone is invited. If you are a coder or a designer, or you want to create a movement, or you want to see how one is made, we do it every summer. And what we try to do are celebrate the winners and give all of the sponsorship dollars we get back to the winners. So if you have a great idea and you pull a team together and you can demo for 3 minutes and withstand the pressure, on Sunday afternoon we'll give you our best prize.
And Dom, we would like to hear what has been a success or something that you did well that you can share with the aspiring entrepreneurs, and also a mistake you made, so we don't make it.
Absolutely. Let's see, some success. If there was one thing, one word I could provide, and that's simplicity. I think simplicity is its own reward. Simplicity in number of team members, of idea, of initial approach, the minimum viable product, they call it in software development, applies to almost everything. So when you have an idea to communicate, you want to get it across in 140 characters. It's the theme of my book, which I actually called 140 characters.
Right.
But it's a style guide for writing. And I believe in business, really, if you boil it all down, it's communication. And so in anything, in any small space, the subject line of an email or a text message or a Facebook post or a tweet, that's a small space. And so to be effective and simple in your message, I think, is the biggest message I've learned.
Yeah.
And as for a mistake, it's hard to know when to edit your team, right? That's a very, very hard thing. You have loyalty, you've got time invested in people, you've got relationships, maybe they're inside or outside of the business context. But editing early and editing ruthlessly, that is a lesson I've learned the hard way. Choosing the wrong people can be as detrimental as choosing the right people can be great. And so what I've done is created a filter for how do I choose people. I'm very deliberate. And I don't make commitments until I've gotten all the check marks checked. I even tried to found a company based on the harshest or most kind of rigid filters. I once tried to say you have to be a programmer, a musician, and a surfer. I got one guy. We made it a year. Because you can't really find that many people. It was great. We had a great time. We had all these adventures. We tried to do all these things. In fact, we did work really hard for the nonprofit sector, and it was a very rewarding experience.
Nice.
So we tried to address global slavery. That was our goal for that company. And it worked.
That's
But it
great.
kind of stopped there.
Right.
Yeah.
So, what great advice and mature advice, simplicity, and the importance of editing your team and the timing of that. Armani, do you think there is a Movement 2.0 version of what you're doing? Does this movement turn into something else
Yeah, I see. Like, the thing about TeamBackPack is it's going to be forever growing. You know, we see the world. We're not going to stop until we have people over in Thailand repping TeamBackPack and also throwing ciphers. But our overall goal is to kind of pitch it towards a network. And we know the thing is that we're not network executives. We're just a bunch of kids from San Francisco who had an idea and it just got really big. But now networks are looking at it. So our upcoming event is like our first chance to shoot our first pilot, you know? And Ustream's gonna broadcast it for us. So we gotta make sure everything's legit. And hopefully if we kill that, there will be a TeamBackPack 2.0. Maybe it'll be like Hip Hop American Idol or something, who knows?
We like it. Well, there may be some entrepreneurs out here who'll come to work for you.
Hey, that'd be beautiful. Armani Cooper.
How about, yeah?
Yeah, I'm about to say at me on Twitter, you know, and we'll talk or something.
There you go.
I was joking though.
Priyanka, how about you? Is there a version 2.0 of what you're doing?
I mean, my ultimate goal is that we wouldn't be necessary. Like, it would be my dream that it would be easy for students to find opportunities, and students would already be connected just via normal social media. So in an ideal world, we wouldn't need to exist. But I definitely see us changing and growing, because as I said, for us, our goal is really our mission and our vision and connecting students and bringing them together around social causes. So the way that we do that, I hope changes. I hope that as social media evolves, as the way that we connect with each other evolves, I hope that we evolve as well.
Perfect. And so, gosh, you've done so many things, Dom. And what's version
next?
2? And also, you've got a new startup, Chaotic Moon. What's that doing?
Great, good segue. The version 2.0, I think, is just essentially continuing the open source movement. And it's founded so many companies. So every year, Chaotic Moon, my company its San Francisco office is at Runway, which is an incubator on Market Street. But the headquarters is in Austin, Texas. Okay. So that's 70 people in Austin, half designers, half engineers. And we sponsor the Open Source Award every year at our camp, because we realize that the people who give back to the community are the folks that we really want as part of our group. Mm-hmm. And so we always say, you know, thank you in the best possible way. And we also have a Helps Developer Award every year at the camp, which is the person who's been given the most kudos by everyone. And that person we also try to reward. So version 2, or the next edition of the movement, including open source, including this social media kind of movement, and the hackathon kind of concept, is Chaotic Moon. So what we want to do, I mean, right now it's very small. I consider it more of a cult than a movement. But we work really hard on our iconography. We work really hard on the identity of being aggressive and awesome in everything we do. And what we want to try to do is take the brightest and the winners from all of the camps and create an alumni of just those who can either work with us, who we, you know, if we can't place them inside our company, give them to our the ecosystem, you know, find places for them amongst our cohort of people that we work with, because we do a lot of contracting. Just find a place for them. You know, I was told by one of my mentors, one of the greatest things that Jack Welch, the creator of GE, ever did was simply plug every awesome person he could into his engine of GE. And so, you know, for the past 7 years, or it's been 6 years, this is our 7th year of developer camp, it's been kind of loosely affiliated. And there are people in Amsterdam, there are people in South America and Australia, and that's nice for them. But it doesn't help everyone if we're sort of so loosely connected. So what I thought was to use the camp as a filter, define the great teams, and kind of pre-qualify them, support them as they do their thing, and then, you know, when they're ready, bring them into the company or bring them into the fold in a way, help to reward them for all their hard work. Wonderful. If at the very least make a connection between them and like an investor, or them and another advisor or a mentor. So I've considered, it's been suggested that we create an investment vehicle for folks who come out of it.
Great.
And I think we have to have success as a company first, but I think what we see at some point, some future state where we can have our own event. And from that, the goal would be to create some kind of way to benefit the greater community. So that's what I see as version 2, is continuing to give back to that community that fostered. I mean, iOS Developer Camp was created by 6 people. 2 of them were at Chaotic Moon. One of them founded Chaotic Moon. You know, and I myself, the company dollar app that I had, which was bought by Chaotic Moon, came from the camp. So all of our companies as a cohort came from that organization. So we just want to keep giving back to it.
Absolutely. It's sustainable that way. We have time for one last question, and it's going to have to be quick. This is going to be like one of those Bloomberg interviews, so you each get about 15 seconds. Let's say you're advisors to these entrepreneurs, and you want to suggest a movement that you've thought about that hasn't been created yet. Do any come to mind? Priyanka?
I would say that, as I said, I'm really passionate about girls' education, and I think that it's almost a fail-proof investment in the way that when you educate a girl, she's 3 times less likely to have HIV/AIDS, she's going to marry later, she's going to have fewer kids, her kids are going to be healthier. I think there's just such a strong positive ripple effect, and while people are starting to realize that now, I think it would really benefit from an awesome movement of bringing people together to really realize the power of what it can do.
Fantastic.
You took the words out of my mouth. So now that you've said it, I have to think of something else. But, one of the issues in the lives of girls and women is women's rights and around the world. And one of the places I see struggling with that right now is the Middle East. And I'd like to see a movement where it's sort of a cultural exchange between the sort of very liberal, very understanding and accepting and tolerant nature of this valley for, smack in the middle. In fact, I was in Abu Dhabi the other month. And I see the potential for that exchange. And a friend of mine calls it the digital Silk Road. So if there was a movement, I'd call it the digital Silk Road.
Nice.
Or something that gave us some appreciation of their challenges and understanding of their culture, and also give and export some of our values so that they can take advantage of those things as well.
Nice.
And I think what we're all going to be pretty much saying all the same thing. There needs to be something that gives the ordinary person a voice where they can speak up about what's going on in the world. YouTube has that, but everybody's not going to see that. Just given the time that we live in, there's so much crazy things going on in the world. There's a person who wants to talk to you guys about what he thinks. And if there was a platform where he can say something and the people who agree with him can maybe like it and it'll get to the forefront and that message will just get bigger without any funding, that would be beautiful, because there's just so many people who want their voice to be heard but don't have a way to do it.
Thank you each for your eloquence, your vision, your the way that you delivered it to us, sharing your passions.
Oh. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much, and thanks for all of you for coming out. Appreciate it. All right, let's give them another hand, guys. Last panel of the day.